I can't show you my notes yet because it's going to be a surprise. Okay. Hi guys, and welcome to the episode something we still don't know the number of Will and James talk about street photography and all of the many delicacies that is street photography. Fourth, it's not your job to comment, Christina.
I'm the studio audience.
You're just supposed to
You know, the
laugh
studio
and clap.
audience doesn't
Like,
mumble.
I need
Clap.
somebody to...
I don't really like that joke. That wasn't funny at all.
I need the camera to like pan around.
My wife is here as the studio audience. She is just off frame. Her name is Christina. She's incredibly hot. Okay, today we're going to talk about, we had a question on our last video, and it was from a guy named Francisco. I'm assuming it's a guy. I'm sorry if you're not a guy. I guess that could be a girl's name too, right?
Francisca is a
Francisco. Okay, probably a guy's name. Hi. This is weird. Okay, so from a guy named Francisco, and he was asking us what types of street photography there are, and what do we think about those types of street photography. Not from a place of like, maybe he didn't know what types of street photography there were, but more just let's lay those out and let's talk about them a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
also, I mean, it's kind of a vague topic.
Yeah.
So I think
Wait,
there's
what
not
do you
many
mean by
resources. When you Google it, it's like there's not really anything that's cohesive about it. There's
yeah.
not like this group of things is it. There's like 5 websites that have varying definitions of it, and
They all kind of go into one pile.
yeah, and they're
Yeah.
not really. They don't really make any sense
Yeah.
together. So we're gonna try to clear this up,
Right.
compile it, format it, put it in your memory card,
Curate.
stick it in your brain.
Yeah.
Boom.
Mind
You
map.
know it.
Yeah. So there are different ideas of what street photography actually is. I have heard people say that street photography really is only candid street photography, and anything outside that kind of falls into
and
its own genre.
then we got to get into like the old school standard of that. So it's like
geez.
film only,
Oh.
black and white only,
Oh.
candid only,
Oh.
30 or 50 only.
Oh.
Wait, 35 or 50 only.
Oh, yeah.
F8 only.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about if the picture's non-focused. Don't worry about if it's grainy. Don't worry about anything else. That's it. So,
It has nothing to do with artistic thought at all.
No.
Just make sure you
It's
meet those
just about
criteria.
those criteria.
and
That's
you
right.
Are a street
That's it.
photographer.
those are pretty hard criterion to
Like-
meet. Not many people shoot those criteria, man.
It's like, wow, that photo was amazing. It was focused on the ocean in the background. I don't even know but this is like artistic. Something dramatic's happening in the foreground with that guy's face.
I mean, you shot with film, and it's in black and white.
Yeah.
So, it has to be artistic.
And it's grainy,
yeah.
right?
That's the grit. That's the street. The grit of the street.
You gotta feel the dirt. You gotta be
Yeah.
able to taste the dirt. There's a quote that's, I forget who it was, but good street photography is when you can smell the street.
Bruce Gilden.
Ah,
Yeah, who's
This guy.
one of the styles that we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, he's very,
What?
yeah.
this is going together. All right. So, I have not told Will what my 3 street photography types are. I actually added a 4th right before we started. I have not told him what they are yet, but I'm going to tell you now. But
Okay.
beforehand, I was like, I can't tell you yet because I want to see how much ours match up. Were those your types?
This was just
This was just
old school standard.
okay.
There's-
I can't read. Okay,
You
so
can't
we're
read
gonna-
my handwriting anyway.
Long
so
story
it's-
short, we're going to share our types right now, and I'm excited. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you.
So excited.
Thank you. Okay. So the first one,
I did my job.
you did good. You did good. You'll get a check later that will go into our bank account. So the first one that comes to mind for me immediately is candid street photography, right? So that's just and inside of these there are many sub-facets, but I'm just kind of breaking it down, and because we could just go on for hours about the different facets of street photography. I want to go.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the main, just overall categories of street photography that would come to mind for me. First one, candid street photography. Second one, portrait street photography, portraiture. Third one, urban exploration.
Okay.
Right? And then the fourth one, which I just added, because I've been spending a lot of time on Instagram lately, is helicopter urban exploration. Because everybody has a shot of their feet hanging out of a helicopter over New York City. Every single photographer. It's like, it's that, you cannot be validated as a human being who wants to be an artist if you don't have that picture. How is everybody getting in helicopters is my question. Like what?
You were in a helicopter
what
not
club?
long ago.
Well, it's true, but...
See, look, I mean,
I know.
clearly it's easy to do. I mean, I haven't, but you already have. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
But see, I think...
did you get a shot with your feet hanging out?
Well, it wasn't as cool. See, I feel like these people know... They just know friends.
That
They're
are
like, yeah,
fly
come on
helicopters. You just come fly in
Yeah.
a private helicopter. Oh, let's dangle our feet out.
Come on
today.
over to the neighborhood later. We're gonna take off in my helicopter, from my backyard and go fly over New York for 2.5 hours. That was not the experience I had. I paid like $40 for like 45 seconds of flying around in a helicopter. 6 minutes, but felt like it was ridiculous. Anyway, so I enjoyed it. It was nice, but yeah, I feel like these people just get to fly around whenever they want, and it's just like a thing for them. How much is helicopter fuel? If you go on eBay right now, that's a significant amount of money, I'm sure. And these people are just
You
hanging
just
out.
got
Like,
the
what
right friends, man.
organization are they
You
part
just
of?
need to get a better friend, I guess, than me.
Stresses me out. Okay, so now I can open my phone. So those are the three I was thinking of. Will,
Okay.
talk about yours. I understand
Okay.
yours are more substantial.
Mine are a little bit more detail
How's our
oriented.
time, Christina?
You're at 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
All right,
good.
we're doing pretty good.
19.
Okay.
All right,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
okay,
You can
all
tune back
right,
in
yeah.
later. Thanks.
We'll see you later. All righty.
Okay.
All right. I have a few. Some are serious, some are not so serious. I'm gonna start with the guy that only shoots homeless people and the despair and the problems of the world.
Oh, like
And you are
where it's going.
capturing,
I like where
the
it's going.
essence of the despair, and the world's just
Yeah.
a terrible place. And
Yeah.
every photo you take of a homeless person is one picture closer to getting you into Vice magazine.
Does this go? That is incredibly elaborate.
This
I'm
is
very proud of
definitely
you.
candid because you're not somebody who's willing to actually get up in close and get to know the people
Oh.
and really interact with them. So I think this is definitely like you're just kind of doing this. This is like the weekend warrior
Yeah.
type of thing. So this is probably the only person I'm gonna put.
You're the guy that's like, oh, I see a homeless person.
You're like
Gotta
100. You
make
have your
sure-
200mm zoom
Okay.
out of a car window, driving by.
Right.
Homeless
people.
shooting homeless people.
Okay.
So that's kind of, I think, a very large genre because I think it's just like kind of, it's this thing that people do and they'll often do it in black and white and they'll often, do this and that. And it's like, anyways.
So let me ask you this: do you
Yeah.
have animosity in some of these topics that you're stating?
No, I just
because I
think,
feel like you're like
I think,
the guy.
I think this one's just kind of like, I think it's just, they're not accomplishing what I think they think they're accomplishing.
Oh,
I think that's the biggest issue
it's
with a
just
lot
kind
of
of
it.
snapshots of homeless people.
Right, and it's like you're not really like saying anything about it, right? I mean, you can walk around the streets of Greenville and see homeless people every single day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there's nothing intimate about it either, unless you're using it like for a project or something like to find resources for them or do something for them.
Yeah.
I see it as just kind of exploitive to a degree too, because it's like taking advantage of someone's position they're in.
Yeah.
Without
yeah.
really like having any use for what you're producing to help anybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You got some candid shooters up in arms.
Yeah.
About that.
I do probably. I mean, I guess the next thing I would have like street portraits with a story because I think that's really an important subcategory, especially like with Honey, Humans in New York,
I like
and
this
stuff like
because
that.
I had the I
Yeah,
got
you really had like
picture,
a big, and
now
I have
you're
a
digging
few
in.
kind of ones that I think under urban exploration, I kind of have kind of maybe something that might break that into like two categories or kind of two more categories that kind of come out of that. But I think the next thing I have is like street portraiture, like what's the story element like Honey, and this one's kind of hard because I think too many people do like a carbon copy of that. I see, and it's hard to do better than Brendan Stanton because he's just amazing at what he does.
Yeah.
And he, New York's one of the best cities to do it, and he travels the world for it now with a lot of things. I think he's in, I don't want to say where because I'm going to forget where it was, but he's somewhere very far abroad right now doing some work. And I think like for you, like the way you post process, the focus that's like more like I'd say like image and story are pretty evenly weighed with your work, and you really are focused on getting these very short nuggets from people.
Yeah,
I think that kind of separates it out.
That's if I do. Lately, I haven't even had nuggets,
right. You haven't even had that, but you know what I mean. Like that, I think helps. Like I think a lot of people just go out and just carbon copy it, and I think they don't get the results they want because it's other factors that go into Brandon Stanton's process and product.
Sure.
Next thing would be what I do, street style stuff, and it's all about like generally longer lenses, which kind of I think helps categorize it in a different thing. When a lot of people shoot with like a 70 to 200, and they just completely isolate the subject from everything. They kind of want to romanticize it and make it cinematic. So I think that's very much a different category, even though there's like a candid realm of it and a street portraiture realm of it. But I think both of those realms really lend themselves to like removing the subject from the environment, creating a fantasy world using longer lenses.
Now street
there's street style that's candid.
But
right.
Street style, street fashion, would you consider those synonymous?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're pretty much the same thing. And I think every type of photography has some sort of street style element a lot, right? Because I mean how we choose subjects a lot has to do with how they're visually presenting themselves. And I would say hair and all that stuff, like everything like that is anything that's like not just your basic facial features or your basic physical structure, has to have some sort of style element. Even if it's not like a focus on the style, right? It's telling a story through the clothing to a degree. That builds part of the element. So I think there's a little bit of that in everything. And all of these are intermixed to some degree, right? Because I think it's important to say too, like street photography, I think the big thing is just it's people and it's not in a controlled environment. It's not like you're out in a public space or in an area, and there's a person element. Even if it's not the main element, like with some of like the fine art and geometric, that's how I kind of break urban exploration down into like a category where there's kind of fine art, where it's more about like the symmetry and the lines and then using the person as an element, but they're a much smaller element of the work.
Yeah.
Or they're almost seen as a symbolic element. They're kind of structural. The photo is more based upon like a structural element using the person of the person in a structural way built in the environment.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting
the person
one.
almost complements the scene.
Right. And it's like, or the person's just, they needed, a person adds an element to the scene, but it's not necessarily about the person.
I got you. So it's interesting you say that because, see, the way I define urban exploration is actually the lack of people.
Okay.
I would say that, like, I think that there is a facet of urban exploration that mixes with candid, and then you end up with what I think you're describing.
Okay.
But for me,
I can see that.
I see urban exploration as when I decide I go out and I don't want to talk to people.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And so
that's interesting because I always struggle to categorize that. I think it's interesting you put it into street photography because for some reason, like for me, I almost feel like if there's not a person in it, I struggle to define it as much. Like I really struggle with that because like where does landscape photography end or begin?
Sure.
And then that element comes in. I think that's an interesting area. I think that would be just an interesting video, especially if we could find somebody that shot that stuff. I know a girl, Katie, that shoots almost all like urban, like landscapes while she's out, but they're very much like a street photography-esque thing that runs Instagram. Maybe we could get her on here because her work's like,
ooh,
she blows me away.
Come on, stop by.
So,
come on.
Look, I mean, we're not creepy. Look, there's Christina right over there. This is
we
a
know
safe
girls.
environment. This is a safe environment.
It's not a safe environment, guys. Stay away. I'm here because I have to be.
That sounds so terrible. Oh my gosh. All
I live
right.
here. It's okay.
I live here.
It's
He
okay.
won't let me leave.
So yeah, I think that's pretty interesting because I thought of it more as like I think that like kind of fine art street photography where like names are escaping me right now, but like when you just building scenes
Yeah.
out of like kind
Well,
of like
this-
your shot with the biker even, but that still was like more person driven. But like you're like building
Oh,
the
with the-
bicyclist,
the
yes, and the big
bridge.
yes, and it's
Okay,
like you
yes.
can't really even see who they
Yes.
are. It's like they're more standing in as an symbol or an expression of something,
Sure.
not really as like it doesn't matter that it was that biker necessarily, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's just somebody moving through that path that kind of
I
had
gotcha.
the vibe
I
you
gotcha.
wanted.
Yeah. See,
so, I
and
mean-
it's interesting though, because then that kind of goes, that leans environmental portrait to me, right? So then it gets really
it's-
weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of I think that's why it's not very defined. And then I think there's like even beyond the like fine art, there's just like geometry based shooting. And then I think there's like categorically just from a lot of people's work, right? There's social commentary, which I think is a very important facet of street photography. And some people might say like it drops into documentary, but I would
Like
definitely put
YouTube
it.
comments.
No, you know, just like the classic thing of like weird balloon in front of someone's face, or like
Okay.
you know a lot of the shots that are like they might be like a dark satire, but a lot of them have like this humor element. Like the work The Americans by I can't remember
I
his
think
name
I've
right
seen.
now.
Did he go across the country?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But
Okay.
anyways, it's like kind of making statements about things, and generally, so it's like there's these kind of humorous photographs. I think just like juxtapose things in weird ways that kind of create this abnormality out of everyday life.
Right.
And then I also think there's these photos that have this social commentary where it's like, I think they can kind of try more, maybe if it's not the composition is great or it's blurry, it just has a very strong meaning. Like I always think of this photograph that it was a bunch of
no quotes, right? Like no
anything.
caption,
No, it's just like
wordage,
trying to create a visual, much more of almost like a visual commentary without words, like
And-
trying to express views
Yeah.
and commentary.
It's almost
on
like
stuff.
expressing things like irony and
Right, and like things about social issues,
Mm-hmm.
but through like a photograph that's not necessarily just like, you know, a blatant like newspaper.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what separates a lot of street photography from like photojournalism.
Mm-hmm.
And even like documentary and street photography, I think are more closely tied than almost photojournalism. I feel like more just like you need to capture an event. I think with a lot of documentary work, it's more about creating an image that has a feeling to beyond just like, I think they bleed together, but I do think documentary and street photography are a little bit closer. I think there's always a focus on some sort of aesthetic. Man, we are really, this topic
Christina.
is intense.
Can you cut to camera B and restart camera A?
Dun dun dun.
We were prepared for this. We are now coming up
We
on
need-
20 minutes.
We need
and-
some wait time. We need some music that plays during this. Like,
Nope.
Okay.
Hey.
It's recording, yeah. Recording,
So,
shabba-doo-bow. Do I restart this camera? Yeah.
You hit that one and then
Okay.
restart it. This is our B camera for a second.
Shabba-doo-boo.
Hi. It's now wide.
recording, yeah,
This is
yeah.
us. This is the rest of the room.
Record it.
all right.
Shabba-doo.
So
Alright,
while
here
we're
I go.
studio audience. All right, relax, studio audience. Okay, thank you, studio audience. I appreciate it. She's dancing. Okay. Oh, I was looking up at the top camera. Is this still recording? Can you check it? Can you double check it? Thanks. This is DSLRs sometimes. It's okay.
Yeah.
This is gonna be
It's recording.
40-minute show.
It's gonna be really
Easy.
intense.
We were like,
we're
this
not
is gonna be
even
a
getting into it yet. We're not even getting
This
into
is
it
gonna
yet.
be a short one. Okay, so I just in an attempt to define, which I should have done at the beginning, define street photography as a whole for me. Street photography is actually and this is why it really does not freaking matter. Street photography falls under documentary photography for me.
Okay.
Right? So on the street, and the reason is because overall I consider myself a documentary photographer. So under that is photography that happens in an urban city setting, right? And that extends to like parks and maybe more rural
Where would you
areas.
draw? Yeah, where would you? That's an interesting. That's a whole video. Is like where does street photography stop being street photography in
Yeah.
terms of like? Because I mean, it's like if you go on a hike and you take someone's photograph.
Right.
I mean-
and it's hard, right? I think for me, it's that starts to turn into what I personally feel, the environment I feel like I was personally in when I took the photo. So if I'm in the middle of the Rockies, I would not consider that street photography. But if I am taking a little walk down, we have a place called Swamp Rabbit Trail here, and it's more, there are trees everywhere. It's you can kind of wander off into the woods and things like that, but it's still relatively an urban environment. I think for me, it's where if I feel like I'm in an urban environment, that's how
Okay.
I would consider that. And I think that
What
it
about,
gets really interesting.
Density.
Density?
Too. Like, what if you're doing like street portraitures
You're
and like
My
a
Density.
very like population
Name that
density,
movie.
maybe?
Do you remember that movie?
No.
You're My Density?
No.
That was Back to the Future.
Oh,
He was
okay.
supposed to say, "You're my destiny." He said, "You're my density." Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That would have been a good random fact with James.
Yeah, that
while
would be
brushing
good.
your teeth.
That would be good. That's on our
Alright.
vlog channel. Okay. So what were
Alright.
you saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't. Where were we?
Oh my God.
No, we're fine.
We've never
No.
gone this far and actually remained inside some essence of
No
structure. So just bear
I know
with us.
exactly where I was now. Like, give me some recovery
Okay.
time. So,
Yes.
I think it's interesting, right? Because I mean, it's like I think it's almost environments where there's just enough people. I'd almost think of as street photography. Like
Okay.
even really small towns and things, and
Sure.
even like small neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's just when you're completely removed from anything man-made at all.
Yeah.
Maybe then you move out of street photography. But it's interesting. Street photography, some people just define it very narrowly, like I was kind of joking at the beginning. And I love a lot of the work people do in those genres. And even in like the candids with homeless people, I think there's tons of people that do fantastic work. I just think there's a lot of work you can kind of poke fun at in that realm because some people do it for reasons that I don't think are genuine. But I think it's just interesting to try to define this and have this conversation because if you go online, you Google this, or you try to find videos on it, there's not a good, it's like, find your street style, shooting style.
Right.
It's like, but it's not really, like, what is street photography? And it's interesting because, for me, I'd almost, urban explorations, that's a hard one still for me. I'm still struggling. It's, like, interesting.
I think they can mix. I think they can all mix. And
Yeah.
I think that one important takeaway would be that I would encourage everybody to do is figure out how to mix them. Because I think that that's when some really interesting bodies of work and projects can happen, is when you try to mix urban exploration with candid, urban exploration with portrait with candid.
I think it's all about like story, like building a
Helicopter
cohesive,
urban.
building like a cohesive story.
Helicopter portraiture.
Now it's
That's
going
where
to
it's
be
at.
drone portraiture though. That's the
Yeah.
future.
I don't know. I mean, don't put limits on people. That's all I'm saying. We could have a beautiful shot of downtown Manhattan, one person with an umbrella, and he knows. And then there's a story under it. Like, no, seriously. Okay, so we're pointing down on Manhattan.
Yeah.
There's a guy with a red
we
umbrella.
have like a 500
and then
millimeter,
the-
$12,000 freaking zoom lens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so you're pointing down, and then there's a story that's like, red is my favorite color because it was my mother's favorite color, and she always inspired me to be a better person and love everyone.
Yeah,
Like,
that's interesting.
He went down after the shot and said, "Hey, I took your." No, that's still candid. He asked the person before to stand there for 35 minutes until the helicopter got over.
He
him.
rappelled down a rope from the helicopter, asks people while he's being flown through the streets, and then goes, "All right, 1 second." They reel him
Yeah.
back up into it,
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah.
This is getting so ridiculous. I don't know why I'm even trying to figure out how the process on this would go.
Yeah. So okay, one thing another takeaway that I was thinking about a second ago that I want to make sure I wrote down so I wouldn't forget it is don't use an urban exploration type of photography to be a crutch for what you really want to create.
That's a really
I
good
know
point.
that I could, if I let myself, I could not challenge myself to be a street portrait photographer and kind of just hang back because it's fun that way. But I am happy that I challenge myself, and I think that sometimes it's good to step back, right? So it's good to kind of go, okay, I need some creative freedom. You kind of get stuck in the everyday structure
yeah,
of trying
the-
to
the
get through,
grind.
3 or 4 shots, the
Yeah.
grind of taking portraits.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need to kind of free yourself and go take photos of a moped in a parking garage or something. But yeah, don't let that hold you back from challenging yourself. And don't, if candid is easier for you than portraiture, figure out if you actually want to shoot candid or portraiture, and
Right.
don't let yourself be held back from that, and set goals for yourself.
No, I mean it's an important distinguishing point
Go ahead.
for sure. I think especially because you get on the internet and there's pieces that'll be like, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Here's the type of street style you should shoot. I think there's a lot of things, and I think a lot of times we're not really truthful with ourselves about what we'd really like to shoot, right? It's like maybe somebody wants to do an environmental portrait series of some group of people, but they're like intimidated by that group of people, or they're afraid to do that. So like, well, I'll just kind of snap some candids of them when I see them wandering around or something, and they're kind of happy with what they've produced, but it's not really what they wanted. And I think that's a really big point to say. It's like, if you want to, shoot like Bruce Gilden,
Yeah.
go for it. If you want to be like, let's have like a walk by. It's like that.
Ah! Where's it going? Where's this being posted?
I mean, if you want to shoot that way, like more.
Are you a terrorist?
It's okay, Jim.
You were supposed to laugh at that. She's so confused.
Oh.
I don't know what's going on. I just see him get up and he's like attacking you.
Anyways,
See him.
it's kind of.
Hold on, perception. The perception was because I was yelling, you were attacking me.
Yeah.
When really, I was just yelling because I was being a doofus.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what that created. That was an important social experiment that just happened right there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, however you want to shoot, though, I mean, you should just try to go for it. You might have to like baby step your way into it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, there's no wrong way to make street photography, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Don't take pictures of flowers and say it's your street
Street flower.
photography, but just don't. That's the one thing I can't. Like, I think that's why I like to lean towards having a person element when I try to define street photography.
Yeah.
Because I'm just afraid of that, like, lumping, like, I went on a photo walk in the streets and took pictures of things.
Ironically, even though urban exploration without people is kind of the easiest to approach
Right.
in street photography, it's also the hardest to do really well, I think. Or not, maybe not the hardest, but it's equally as hard as any of the other ones to do well and create a compelling photo.
Oh, well, and also to create any sort of narrative, especially
Right.
if you're trying to have any sort of commentary that's not blatantly obvious. Like, look, they're tearing down this building. Look at us tearing
Right,
down the
right.
old to build the new. Things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
cliches like that. It is really hard.
It's equally as tough if you really want to do it well.
No, and it's also, I mean, the only advantage to it is you write the time of day. You can really plan out. I think that's really important.
Oh,
in
okay,
urban
yeah.
exploration is like
Yeah.
really
The buildings don't
committing
move.
to a shot. Yeah, unless it's like something in flux or something driven. But it's like you really have to. There's a beautiful series by this photographer based out of China. I would butcher the name of where he was living, so I'm just not going to do it. But he did this series on the encroachment of the city on these like farmlands in the center that were still owned by the farmers, and they were kind of forcing the people out. And he just did the most beautiful urban exploration. I guess I would put that into street photography. And just beautiful, beautiful work covering this transformation in China. Fantastic work. Anyways.
I think that puts huge emphasis on the importance of starting. You don't have to do this all the time, but how beautiful it can be to start with a narrative first. Start with an idea for a project
Especially
first.
for urban exploration, I think.
Form your photos around that concept, no matter what it is.
Even if it's loose at the start. Like, you don't necessarily have to have your concept perfect, I think. But if you just...
Because he didn't go out and just like take a bunch of. I can imagine he didn't just go out and take
no.
a bunch
His
of photos
method-
of some farms
His
with some
methodology-
buildings on the side.
Yeah, his
And
methodology
he was like,
is
"Oh, I'll
unbelievable.
organize this into a thing."
He's
you know?
very driven. Here, actually, maybe I'll find the video and we'll put a link to it in the bottom because it's really.
Linkage.
I think it's a cool section to have. It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be
It's
awesome.
really good. I found a whole series like that. Just watch everything in that series, a photographer series. It's like nice pictures. It's a really generic, terrible title, but it's really good. Everyone's really amazing in there.
Nice pictures. Is that what you said?
Nice. It's really.
Is that
I
the
don't
one?
know if that's what it's called, but it's something really.
I'm gonna rename my blog now.
It's
Nice
really
pictures.
it's really terrible. It's like nice pictures, and then they have all these unbelievable photographers on there doing
Oh,
fantastic work.
Yeah. Maybe it's like
but
it's supposed
yeah.
to be irony.
I don't
Nice
know.
when
I
it's
don't-
really beautiful, like amazing.
I don't
Just
know.
nice.
It's really amazing. There's just one dude who covers. Anyways, we're gonna get this video is gonna get way too long, so I'm not gonna go into this.
So okay, so if we don't have anything else to digress with,
Yeah.
I will say that the big takeaway that I thought was really important. I don't know. I had a couple of good things that I wanted to say.
There was something.
But there's something there. Is to drive back to this idea of mastering one focus. So dabble in all three or all 7 or 15. Dabble in all of them if you want to, right? But you can't. You have to switch your mindset at some point and focus in on one thing so that you can master that one thing instead of trying to like slowly get a little bit better at like 8 different things. I saw this chart that was a bunch of lines and they were like little, it was like a graph, you know, like a pie chart kind of thing, but it's like a graph where the lines go up. And so there was
I keep thinking you're gonna judo chop me in the neck.
ah! Will's dead. Okay. So yeah, there was all these lines, and it was basically giving this what's the word, analogy, representation of focusing on like 6 different things versus focusing on one thing. So, you know, if you had the 6 different things, all the lines are kind of like hanging out at the same spot here. But if you focus on one thing, you can take all of the energy that you put into those lines, throw it into this one thing, and then that line was like up here, right?
Yeah.
So it's the idea of mastery versus dabbling. And so I think we can talk about these all day long, and we can play around in these all day long. But people talk with your hands. But people get Brandon Stanton is a freaking, I don't even know how many he's sold now and how much money he's made off of these books. It's absolutely absurd.
It's really
it's immense.
amazing.
And that is because all he does is he takes a photo of a person and talks with them for like 30 minutes. And that's like his goal every day, to go out and do like that like 5 times. And that's his whole blog, that's his whole career, that's everything. Imagine what Humans of New York would be if it was some portraits, some pictures of some bridges, like some girders. It's rusty. It speaks character. Oh, this is great. Oh, look, a bird. Okay. Perfect wing formation. Okay. Oh, look, a flower. A rusty flower.
A flower on a rusty fence, like a Victorian rusty fence
Yeah.
with flowers growing on
Yeah.
it. If I see one of those pictures, I'm gonna kill myself.
And then his blog would have been called, like, New York Street Photography.
The
And then-
almagoration.
The what?
Almagorization. Anyways, let's just skip that word.
Too big.
Too strong.
We went overboard on that.
That was good
We-
to end it.
we went a
I
little-
have it in my head. I just can't pronounce it because I live in the South and I struggle with conversational words sometimes.
Struggle with. Okay, so.
So we need to wrap this up.
Anyway, I think you get my point. Focus is good. So that's it, guys. What is your favorite type of street photography? And which one? What street photography inspires you? Whether it's inside or outside, and how does it inspire you? And of course, let us know what videos would be valuable to you. What topics would be valuable to you? You see, what happened was Francisco asked a question, and I texted Will last night. We just filmed
Yeah.
a set of videos, and I texted Will last night. I was like, I need you to come over. We need to do this so that we can get this up, so that we can be responsive to our audience. I want you to do that. We will certainly do our best to make the topic happen, as long as it's not, what's the best camera for street photography?
Well, I think we could kind of
I
talk.
said that on
I think we could talk about something. I think we could talk about cameras in terms of Something.
They're not allowed to ask that question.
They're good at somebody's good. Eventually, we're
They're
gonna
not-
get that question.
they're not
There's
gonna-
lots of
they
really
can't.
good answers.
We're
No,
gonna spam it. They can't.
I would be okay with that question.
I'm just kidding. No, feel free to ask it. I mean, we might find some interesting way to spin it. But
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I mean, be thoughtful and creative with your questions, and
We promise the next one we probably won't take quite this long to answer.
Oh,
So, Francisco, if you've made it through this whole video answer we gave you,
we can't promise anything.
thank you.
These
Thank
might
you
just
for-
get longer from here. I'm gonna be honest. Next one's gonna be like an hour and 20 minutes.
Christina can't have to sit there that long and turn it off and on.
It's not gonna be that long.
So our goal is to, and the reason why I'm saying this is our goal is to scratch your itch. We want to kind of,
That's weird.
we want to speak to what you guys are struggling with. We try our best to come together and kind of coagulate and a
Or it could be-
symbiotic
It
relationship.
could be something we're struggling with too, so at least
Right.
we'll relate to you. I'm
Right.
like, oh yeah, I've got that exact problem. And
Right.
We'll tell you about how we're working on it, but
Yeah.
we'll do our best.
Anyway, okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a lovely day. Go create awesome photos. If we missed any type of street photography,
Yell at us.
Yell at us. Let us
Yeah.
know, and we'll definitely mention that next time around, or maybe not in the next video because but we'll mention it sometime soon.
Sometime.
We'll
We'll get it in there.
Yeah, we'll mention it. So, you guys have a lovely day again. Okay, bye. You gotta wait. There you go.
Judo jump!
That was,
My necklace hit myself in the eye.
James.
Ironically,
James.
you hitting me hurt less than me.
I did.
hitting myself.
I was being careful. I didn't want to hurt you.
Was that a strategic
Yes.
Was that
it
your
was so
strategic
strategic.
to get me to actually assault
Yes.
myself?
I was like, this way I can't get
18
blamed.
minutes.
You're a genius.
Thank you, Christina.